goes on, and there's a reason they're looking for. So, what seems to be the situation, and take it or leave it, it's just information, bizarre as it looks, is that in this interspace plane are these entities, not just reptilian, but other kind of entities that manipulate into this dimension through possession, which of course is a theme of history, and they possess certain bloodlines. Now, those Illuminati bloodlines that I've been talking about coming out of the Near and Middle East, they're not the only ones. They exist in China and all over the world. The ancient emperors of China claimed the right to be emperor because of their genetic connection to the serpent gods. Again, the same recurring theme going way back. And so what you have is people put into positions of power, these bloodlines with this DNA corruption, and they're actually possessed and their mental and emotional processes controlled, not much emotionally, by these interspace entities. And so what happens is, on top of these pyramids of power in these various countries, you have basically the same entities manipulating events. And, these buggers don't go to war, do they? They play off the people against each other. And so often, these conflicts here are just for the movie. They're not in conflict at all. They are answering to the same agenda. And so you have the people played off against each other in war, and they're orchestrating it. I have a simple way of stopping all war. All you have to do is make it a law that anyone that declares war has to fight on the front line from day one. Finish. Over. If George W. Bush was on the front line in Iraq when the first bullet was fired, he'd be under a bed in Houston when the second bugger went off, wouldn't he? No, playing their game. And it's interesting, the Disney organization, a lot of this stuff is put out in really kind of different ways through the media and various things. And I watched this Disney film, Monsters, Inc., with my son, and I went along, just a kind of children's thing, and I sat there and watched it, and I started getting closer and closer to the edge of my seat. If you haven't seen Monsters, Inc., again with the Illuminati Disney Corporation, the story is this: there are these monsters in this monster world, but they don't have an energy source. So what they have to do is get the energy source from the human world. So, in the power station in the monster world, all these doors are brought down and put in front of them, symbolic, I would suggest, of these interdimensional gateways, which you can move between dimensions if you know what you're doing. And these monsters then all line up and they walk through these doors. And as they walk through the door, they walk into a child's bedroom. And their job is to make the child terrified, and as the child screams, they catch the scream, the fear energy, in this tube, and they go back to the monster world and plug it into the power station, and it powers the monster world. Well, from what I understand, that's pretty much what goes on in this sense. Incidentally, who's the hero? The all-seeing eye. I love it. And in The Matrix, the first Matrix movie, and this is a theme that I've been picking up, why do they do this? Why do they manipulate humanity? What's it about? And in the movie, the first movie, The Matrix, of course, one of the themes major themes, was that the controlling force manipulating the Matrix was using the energy of human beings as its power source. Again, this recurring theme, which has come up in my research again and again. The Morpheus character says they have turned the human being into one of these. Now, what I understand is the power source in this interspace plane, this heaven between heavens, that empowers them is human fear. That's what it is. And so they manipulate through these bloodlines war, horror, famine, all the things that generate enormous amounts of fear. That's what the whole game is, turning the human race into a power station, generating fear energy which can be absorbed and used to empower them. Otherwise, they can't operate where they are. So these guys manipulate the wars and the horrors and the suffering and therefore the fear and the stress and all the rest of it. And they turn the people basically into batteries or generators, generating the fear that empowers the manipulators just beyond the 5 sense level of human existence. And to hold us in this reality, this conditioned reality, to keep us from understanding the game, they have created what has become known as the Matrix. It is a illusory world that we are manipulated to believe is real, but is actually not. It's simply an illusion of our minds. And what more and more people are going through, and that's what happened to me in 1990, 91, when I was kind of all over the bloody Wogan show and stuff. Symbolically in the Matrix movie, there were 3 stages with the Neo character. And interestingly, if you play with the words Neo, it becomes one, the oneness. Once you become the oneness, you start to see things that you can't when you're in disconnected illusion. First is to explain that you're a slave. You're a slave, Neo. You were born into bondage. And that which controls you, the Matrix, is all around you. What you see, touch and taste when you pay your taxes, when you do this, when you do that. It's all the Matrix. Then there is the decision to, hey, I want to be free of this. Something I decided back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then you go through the process of transformation. And I know from experience, it was more extreme with me, it can be amazingly painful and can blow your life apart. But once the debris settles, your life is far better than it was before. It's like the veil lifts. It's like sitting in a room with no windows all your life, and people are telling you this is what it is, this is life, this is reality, and then someone whips the roof off and you look up. Whoa! And something like this goes on. Ah! They're lying to us! Oh my God! Because you can start to see things you couldn't see before. And when all that amazing stuff was happening to me in the early 90s, oh, it's mad, thinks he's Jesus, and all that stuff, what was happening was this veil was lifting, and in that period, if you'd have asked me what planet I was on, I'd have had to kind of check, because I was moving from one state of being to another, and when everything settled down, it took about 3 months, I'm looking through the same eyes, hearing through the same ears, and I'm hearing and seeing a completely different world, seeing things I could never see before. And more and more people are going through this, not in public, but in private, all over the world, as the veil's lifting. And in different ways, it's lifting at different speeds, but people are beginning to see as the veil lifts. Now, the next the kind of stage, or the latest stage that's kind of hit me, was not just realizing intellectually that it's an illusion, but actually kind of understanding how the illusion's created, and therefore how we can create another one. And it all started for me in January of this year. And this I'm going to lead into how therefore we're manipulated, because if you have the knowledge I'm going to go into, and the people don't, well, kind of, you can play them like a violin. I realized over the last year or so that if I was going to move this on and understand more than I had at that point, it wasn't that I just had to talk about other dimensions. I wanted to go in awareness and experience them. So in this period, I get this invitation to go to Brazil, to the Amazonian rainforest, and partake in this tea called ayahuasca. And it's been used by shamans in South America for centuries to take people into other states of awareness. Now, I got to 50 years of age, never touched any of this stuff, but I thought, I want to see what's beyond this veil. So I went down and I took it a couple of times. And I had the most amazing experience, particularly the second time, when I went into another state of consciousness where everything was still, and I was everything that existed. I was still self